All right, we'll get started then. Good evening, everybody. Lucky number 13. Thanks for coming to hang out, do a little Hebrew. It is your birthday day, correct? The 13th, except of May. So you're right. What's that?
Must have been Friday.
Must have been a Friday. Exactly. It actually, I think it was a Friday. If I think about it, I see it was a Wednesday. That's right. But it feels like a Friday. Goodness. Well, let's get going. I was just terrifying people with all the things we get to learn. So all good. Another 5 new suffixes tonight, and that's 5 new next week. And then we'll probably do just some reviews. We'll be through most of adjective, noun formation. Probably learn some of the pronouns in the middle of all of that. And then I'm guessing in about probably lesson 16 or 17, we'll jump into our first batch of some verbs. So it should be fun. And then we will essentially spend most of our time in verbs, believe it or not, through the rest of the year with reading. So we'll just intersperse a lot of reading, a lot of text, along with new verb forms as we come through. And that's really how you learn, is by reading and decoding and figuring that stuff out. So anyway, that's where we are. Congratulations. You've made it 3 months. If I had coins, I'd give them to you. You'd be like 3 months, 2 months for some. We'll credit you. We'll be like Jesus. We'll just pretend you were here all 3. So, oh man. All right. Well, I know a few folks are eating, so let's do this. Wayne, I'm going to pick on you today. Why don't you go ahead and read the first 3 of these for me, and you don't need to do ahad here, but just do these first 3. You don't need to line them up. I didn't mix them up today. Okay. So, but just go ahead and read them.
What?
Ahad. Perfect.
Odd.
So this is ahad.
Oh, I was doing the word.
Oh, no, then ahad would be the construct. Perfect. Very good. Yep. That's a holum. It's an O vowel.
Yeah. Fat.
Oh, fit.
Fat. Oh, oh, dang. I figured that on NCIS. Hey.
Job, Wayne. He got him. He just read through them like he knew them. That's crazy. That's awesome. He's getting it. So, Steve, I'm going to give you the last 2. This little mark right here is just the emphasis, just the accent mark. So that's bo-care. Bo-care.
Oh,
It looks like a fey, right? Looks a little bit like a fey. But yeah, with it dropping below the line, think of it like a Q of sorts. Bo-care. Bo-care. Emphasis here would be bo-care. Remember that trick? You can nod your head. Bo-care. Bo-care is actually morning. Morning. Boker tov would be good morning. If you were up through the night, going potty, it'd be a boker ra. It was an evil night or an evil morning. And then go ahead and do this last one right here. Shemo. Yep. Shemone. Shemone. If you can think of Monet, like the painter, Monet. So Shemone. And that means 8 in that case. All right. For being in a little later than the others, you're doing pretty good there. So why don't you take one more? We'll do 80. Shemonim. Nim. Yep. Yeah. So this part right here, I'll just as a reminder, because these are some of the parts you guys weren't here for, but this here is actually a vowel. So that yod is part of the vowel. We wouldn't pronounce it. But there are some forms where you will have a heric below the yod. And in that case, it is a consonant, and it would be yim. So, yep. Okay. Gary, C, great. Daisy, why don't you take the next three right here? She. Nope. Ni. She, ni. So let's put it together. Shani. Shani. If you heard this natively, it'd just be shni. Shni. But shani means second. Go ahead and give me this one right here. Shana. Yim. So this was kind of like when you were trying to do the ayim. This is one of those. Shanayim. Shanayim. Which means two. That's the word for two. All right. Gary, you want to do these last two?
Joshua.
So this one is shesh.
Josh.
They're just sheens. Yep. Shesh.
So that's the yod. So just on the bottom line. What's punctuation? That is more solid. Nice.
So this one, so shesh and shishi. Shishi.
Yeah.
Yep. Shesh and shishi. 6 and 6th. You'll see when they kind of get these, what looks like a construct form on them, that's when they become a cardinal number, ordered number, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. But this is the pure number 6. And again, just to point out, we've got some similarities here. We have a sheen and a sheen, and we have a sheen and a sheen. And I don't know if we have it on the next slide. We might. Yeah, we do. So over here on the next slide, we have another one here. Gary, go ahead and take this one. Notice we've got a sheen and a sheen. So it's telling us it's 6, still in number 6 range. Shishim, perfect, which means 60. So you can see that the root of 6 is sheen, sheen. So when you see a sheen and a sheen together and then some other endings, you're doing something with the number 6. That's why if you just learn just the numbers, you usually can decode what the rest of it is. All right, good job. Shishim. Multiplies it by 10 for numbers 3 through 9. Number 1 and number 2 change. So 1 doesn't have an im ending on it. It goes to mea, 100. 10 is eser. Esrim, so 10 with the im is 20. Go figure. So, they weren't as concerned about numbers like that in these days. But then when you get to shalosh, like 3 up through tesha, 9, you put the ims on the end of them, and you're 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. So those are pretty common. Those are pretty consistent. Yep. All right. Good job. Do you want to try one, or are you eating a candy bar? You want to try one? All right. Yeah, you can do 9 right here. Yeah. Ah. Te. Sha. Tesha. Tesha. Yep. Good job. Tesha. Very nice. Let's see. Robin, why don't you take these two? Yes, Shetayim. Very nice. It's not an easy one to pronounce because most people try to do Shetayim, and it's not it's Shetayim. And so you had it exactly right. Good pronunciation on that one. So this is Tashi-i. Yep, there's no im on that one. And notice again here we have the tav, shin, ayin. And notice up here on 9th, tav, shin, ayin. Here's our root letter again. And down here on 90, what do we have? Tav, shin, ayin. So there's our root for the number 9. Okay. That's why vocab is so important. Get those roots figured out so that when you see them, you know what you're looking at. So, speaking of which, Brent, give me this last one, Dad. Tishim. Very nice. Very nice. And by the way, that's about how old Chico is. This one right over here. Tishim. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He was made before the Bible? No, that's Gary. Gary was made before the Bible. Just kidding. It's okay if I pick on you, right, Gary? That's fine. Okay, good. Oh, all right. So we were just going over these before the rest of you guys made it with pizza. Thank you again. And we'll continue to work on these suffixes because we're going to learn 5 more tonight. And they are really the key to pulling the phrasing of things together. So we won't bury a lot of time here, but what I'm going to do is just use the word sus, and we'll kind of add the endings. It's a good way to memorize them. So if you can think sus for just masculine singular, susim masculine plural, susa, suso. So I'll say all 4 and then you can repeat after that. Sus, susim, susa, suso. Okay, those are all the absolutes. They can stand alone as a noun or an adjective on their own, no problem. The constructs take a slightly reduced form, and in that case, it'd be sus, suse, susat, suso. Yep. So if you can get the rhythm of remembering that, then those will be the only construct and absolute ending forms you'll see. If you see one that's a little different, it's what they would call a textual variant. It means there's a question in the spelling. They're not sure. It might be an older form. Those are very rare. By the time you're coming across those, it'll just stand out. Something strange. I don't recognize this. You can look it up and go from there. But this is 99% right here. And if you can just get in the habit of practicing the rhythm of both of those, here's what will happen for you. And if you can put them together, right? Masculine plural, feminine singular, feminine plural, you always keep them in that order. And when you get to an ending and you're not sure, you can just repeat it to yourself and it should help you kind of figure out what you're dealing with. But pretty soon it'll just kind of become second nature. So keep working on memorizing those endings. We'll continue to go through those and memorize them as we go forward. Some of these endings, I'll just say, some of what we're going to start to move into, you just have to memorize and know them cold. The minute you see them, you know exactly what it is. Otherwise, you will be stumbling through the text, and that makes reading very frustrating when that happens. Last week, we looked at inseparable prepositions, so this is just a bit of a review, but whenever we come across them in our readings, we'll try to find them and point them out. So if we remember the bait, the lamed, the kaf have particular meanings around them. And the bet, in, on, with, has more to do with like a presence of sorts, being in the presence of something, whereas the lamed is more of a possession. It's 2 or 4, something along those lines. And the kaf is I put a parallelism, but it's probably not the best word, but like, according to, as if, things like that. In those prepositions, you will never see standing on their own. They will never be on their own in the text. They will always be attached in some form to the front of a word. Always. Okay. So you can put this in the same bucket as above at the beginning of the word. You always know is a conjunction of some form. A ha for the definite article is on the front of the word in some function. The prepositions are in the same position. Now, we learned last week another thing about these prepositions is when they're joined with a definite article, they take on the characteristic vowels of the definite article. And this can get a little tricky sometimes, but the way that you differentiate is somewhat simple. If you have a schwa on your preposition, it is not definite. It's a something. It's of an anything. If you have anything other than a schwa, any other vowel, doesn't matter what it is, any other vowel in a prefix for a preposition, it's definite. So it's an easy rule. The schwa, indefinite, whatever. But any other vowel, just go with it's definite. And then you will get into the cases where it is important to remember the rules of definiteness, right? If there are certain things that are definite. One way we know is when we have the definite article attached to it, but another one is if we have a personal name, right? Like Shlomo, there's only one Solomon. He's definite. So any kind of name is always definite. Name of a city, name of a person, always definite. And then we learned the ze, the zo, this, that as well. Those are always definite because it's this one, it's that one. It's when you really identify right in on that one thing. So those rules will apply. And so sometimes you'll get a preposition in front of a word that's in construct to a definite noun. And you'll start to translate it in a, in a Gilgal, a carriage of the king, when it would really be in the king's carriage. It's all definite. And so you can get a little confusing sometimes. That's why you got to know those construct forms. If it's something of relationship and it's definite, got to pay attention to that. So anyway, we learned about these inseparable prepositions. Memorize those when they're in the front of the words. They're going to help you understand what's happening within the phrase. Bet, lamed, and kaf. We did a couple of examples with these, and these are the same ones as last week. So we're trying to keep it simple so we can identify some of the same things. So before we read it, though, let's find some stuff that we can identify. So if there are some things in here that you see and you know what it is, whether it be a word, a preposition, a conjunction, if you see something in construct and there may not be any of that, go ahead and call it out.
The first one, John.
Conjunction right here. Yep. The vav conjunction. Yep. What else do we see? Anything else? Yes, it's absolutely correct. And in this case, it doesn't have a schwa, so that tells us it's also has the definite article baked in it.
Or was a pit.
That's a pit. Yep. In the pit. That's exactly right. Any other ones that we see here? Yosef. All right, we know his name.
With the schwa, not him.
It absolutely is. Another conjunction right there. Perfect.
L.
It is. What is it? It is. It's two. Very nice. Very nice. There's one more in here that's kind of standing out a little bit, a little hidden.
There's the how that's not.
That's exactly right. Definite article right here. Perfect. Good job. Definite
and then
article.
Organs.
And there's border again. The pit,
To the bit in the bit.
in the pit.
Mhm.
Yeah, just with that simple change. So hine, or in this case, hine, is behold. Look. Hine. Yeah. Very close to, you're correct. Very close to hine, they, feminine. It's close to it. Hen is that one. Reuben, right up here. Very nice. What about this guy? Go ahead and pronounce it. Somebody just pronounce that.
Yeah. Aim.
Ain. What does ain mean?
Construct.
It's not in construct in this case. You look like you're already. Nope. Ain is I. This is ain.
Ain't gone.
Ain't. There are none. There ain't none. There are none. Okay. Ain. That's why learning to pronounce will help you sometimes draw that thing in your brain together. So as it turns out, the only one that we haven't really looked at that you're going to struggle with right here is probably this one right here, right? So in about 3 or 4 weeks, yele, we're going to learn that this word, just made to remember the word for he walked or he went. Halak. That's exactly right. Looks something like that, right? Halak. Well, that word, vayelek, is actually from the root halak. Notice there's a letter missing. The hay. The hay's gone. Well, as it turns out, hays and verbs, they just don't like to stick around. They don't. They just disappear. With halak,
Yeah. Seems like a placeholder. It's like a bit when it's done, you can take the hay out and fix it. It almost seems like it's a place.
it's called assimilation. When you put it, if you put the hay in here, va yehelek, the yeh is eventually just going to blend together in the language over time. Vayel, because the ha sound is in there. It's just not spelled. Yep. So it doesn't always go away, but there are certain forms where it does go away. Knowing your vocab and how it's spelled gets really important because there are verb forms that are just lek. There's no ha in front of it at all. But when you're reading and you're thinking, it seems like someone's going somewhere, and you see a lek in there and you're like, oh, that's my imperative. Go, walk. That's the imperative lek. So that's the only one that you probably didn't pick up. And this is a imperfect verb form. Okay. Third person. We will learn some of that in several weeks. But that tells us in this one, we can kind of put this thing together. And, right, Reuben went to the pit. And behold, ain't Joseph in the pit? He ain't there. Right? Or if we were doing this, and behold, Joseph was not in the pit. Okay? To smooth it out. Very good. All right, let's see what you know on the other one. You guys might start surprising yourself. Yep. So we'll get out over here. So, so I will tell you that this right here is the word, and this right here is the word, and this right here is the word. Just so you kind of know where they break them. So what else do you recognize now knowing that? We have bet, lamed, and kaf prefixes.
Wow. Second.
So right here, yep, lamed. And does it have a shawa or a different vowel? Different vowel. So if it has a shawa, it's indefinite. Anything other than that, definite. Definite. All right. What else do you guys see? Asher. What does asher mean? Ashrei
Ashrei.
is, yeah, he who is happy. Asher is a relative particle. Does that help with your college education? Okay. That so that, who, which, it's what relates to the phrase, the relative particle. That, which, or who. Vav with the shawa right here. Sorry, this one. That one right there. That one right there. What else do we have? The lameds, the two lameds there. And notice right here, here is our definite article hiding in the lamed preposition. There's our hey and there's our dagash. But the hey has disappeared. So we get the full form there. Same thing here. We have the definite article. There's our patak. There's our dagash. The hey has just been assumed by the lamed. So that's a definite article. But notice up here, we have the patak and no dagash. And why is that? It's a guttural. It rejects. Oh, you do. Good job. And who's Yehuda? Judah. That's right. What else do you see? Go ahead. Right. It's the preposition, the bet preposition. Where? Say the word. This one right here. Right. Say it. Bayad. Bayad. And what is a bayad? Do you need some help remembering what the bet is? Think of in. In. And what's a yad? Yes. So remember I was saying we would, based on what we know, in a hand, right? That's how this would be because it's not definite. We know this from the Shua. So in a hand of Yehuda. Well, does that mean it's in one hand or the other hand? Or if it's Judah's hand, it's in the hand of Judah because Judah is definite. So you'll see this and think, well, it's not definite. Well, it is because it's Judah's hand. He's the only one with his own hands, right? So as it turns out, you know quite a bit. Va tisha'al laho temet. So this word right here, sha'al, I don't know if that's been in your vocabulary. I think it probably has. To ask or to seek. So that's our sha'al word right here. This is another imperfect verb form. Okay. And we know some things about this verb form. So it's a request. It's an ask of something, right? Sha'al. So we know that. The previous verb had this yod in front of it. This one has this tav in front. And that's telling us some things. Like in this case, it's either you, feminine, asked, or she, feminine, asked. Well, who is asking in this case? Does anybody remember the story?
Tamar.
It's palm tree. That's right. Tamar, palm tree is asking. All right. So this tav tells me it's she, Tamar, asked for the chotem, that's the seal, and for the patil, that's the cord, and for the mate, the staff, which, that's the relative particle, which was in the hand of Yehuda. Okay. You could also say that was in the hand, however you want to deal with a relative. Oftentimes, if you're dealing with a person, you'll just use who. So you kind of have to make that decision. All right. Very good. Any questions on that? I mean, you guys are actually identifying on a lot of things here. Oh, there's no test. All right. So here we are. Last preposition that we'll do. It's fairly easy. Min means from. Min. Say mean, but min, mean, whichever. Means from. It's like from a location of sorts. So if we were to say something like min sade, that would be from what's a sade? Field. Perfect job, Wayne. High five. All right. It's two of them. So from a field. So if you were taking something from a field, you'd say min sade. We took the whatever it was from a field, min sade. Well, min, sometimes you will see it fully spelled. Okay. Sometimes you'll see it fully spelled in front of a word. Pretty normal. Important one to remember, another one to memorize. And sometimes they will shove it together with the word and turn it into a mushed preposition, like what's in the green. So in this case, it now becomes misade. Min sade, misade. They mean the same thing. Yep, they're same thing. Misade, min sade. And what we're going to learn, so we've got the second letter here that we're going to learn has this tendency to disappear, assimilate. And I like starting with this pattern because when you see the mem, the hirik, and the dagesh, this dagesh and sade is telling us something. It's communicating that there was something here. It's like like an asterisk in it, in this case, when the min is preceding it. And what it's going to tell us is, hey, dear reader, there used to be a min, a noon right here. There was a noon here.
That was the final.
It was a final noon on the word, and it disappeared. And this is really important because of that first verb form you said in your sheet called a nifal. Yeah, those are noon prefixed verbs. And all of a sudden, those noons in certain verb forms just start to go away. And the dagesh in the first letter of the root word is one of the keys that tells us we're in a nifal in a verb form. Because it makes no sense. There's no other reason for that to be there. So it's one to pay attention to. Just kind of get used to noons disappearing and hays disappearing. They just have a tendency to drop out. Okay. But min sade, mi sade, same exact thing, from a field. Now, here's the good news. Unlike the bet, lamed, and kaf, which can change its vowel form to take the definite article, okay, the mean form does not do that. It won't do that. If you want to say, in this case, from the field, where you have the ha, right? We've got the regular definite article form from the field. It does not assimilate. You will get a me Ha sare. And here's your definite article. It doesn't blend into this mix. It doesn't do that. But you'll notice something that we've learned before. When a dagesh gets rejected, I've tried to kind of teach you guys that if the form of min attached to a word is the mem with a hirik, and it's going to try to double the next letter. Well, I have a mem, and it's going to try to double this hey. What's my problem?
Is to take the dagesh.
The hey rejects the dagesh. It's a guttural. It won't take it. So that dagesh that should go right here, the mem tries to put it in, send it in here, and the hey says, get the heck out of here, and it bounces off, and it lengthens my vowel right here. Okay? That's essentially what happens. So same form as everything else. Let me clear my drawings out of here. But you won't have to learn a different form for a definite article from the. You will see the from in the min. You'll see the regular definite article form, and then your word. So believe it or not, this is a phrase, from the field. It just looks like one word, but it's comprised of 3 words smushed together. Like a compound word in English, from the field. Any questions on the from? Yes, go ahead, Bobby. Oh, you were telling me to cut my throat? Okay. So those are your 4 main prepositions. Bet, lamed, kaf, min. In, to, like, or according to, from. I will warn you, min can be flexible, can be confusing. If you just do a literal translation, it can start to get kind of confusing. It's just a different form. It's a different combination of words. So, for instance, if someone is leaving the presence of Yahweh, it'll be like, milif ne, from the presence or from the faces of Yahweh. And so it gets a little, if you do this very hardcore, precise word for word, it doesn't usually make sense. So you just kind of have to let it be a little flexible, but it will almost always be from. 99% of the time it'll be from. So the bet, the lamed, the bet, the lamed, the kaf, and then min.
What about the preposition that was on the reading?
The all,
Yeah.
all, those never attach. These are just prepositions that attach. You have other prepositions. Yeah, the all, the L, the all, L, to, all, on, or upon. There's a whole host of different prepositions. These are the only ones that will attach to the front of words.
What was the English?
So bet, in,
Yeah.
lamed is 2 or 4. Kaf is like or according to. And then min is from. So we got a couple examples right here. Is anybody feeling courageous to read? We can just do what we did last time. Let's see if we can just pick some of the characters out, and then we'll have somebody read it and go through. So tell me what you see that you recognize.
Ha.
This ha right here, okay, which is the what? The. Okay, what else do you recognize?
Where's the pa?
This one here, okay, which would be a in the. Okay, very good. Do you see a number here?
Oh, yeah.
It sure is.
Isn't that like 7?
This is actually 3.
No.
I thought you need on it.
Is that 3rd?
Third,
Oh, yes.
Oh,
Yeah. because it has this construct looking form, and those are the cardinals first, second, third, fourth, fifth.
We have the le.
This one right here. Okay, I'm gonna let's put a little question mark by this one. Because you are correct, but it's a little bit of a different form. We haven't learned yet. What else do you recognize? Oh, go ahead. Just speak up. The be, which be? This one right here? Oh, we're going to put this one as a question mark too. Because that one may not be a preposition. Oh, he just said it. What's a bene? Okay, so let's think back to the suffixes. Sus, susin, susa, suso. Those are absolute forms. They're not in construct. Sus, suse. This is a construct form. And suse tells me I have horses of something. So now I just need to figure out what is a ben. Son. So ben is son. This is the construct form. Bene, sons of. Read this word for me, Daisy. Nope, read it. Pronounce it. There's a break. Go ahead and pronounce this first one here, Daisy. Nope. Yis. Yis. Ra.
Israel.
El. Yisrael. Yisrael. Which sounds like what? Israel. So this is sons of Israel. And would it be any sons of or the sons? Why? Have a proper name. It's a definite. Okay. So that one's tricky, isn't it? See that bet right there? Like, well, what is nay? What's a nay? I don't remember nay in my vocabulary. Exactly. There is no nay in your vocabulary, but there is a ben. There is a ben. Now, the good news is you'll see this form all the time and it won't confuse you because ben or bene is almost always before sons of David, son of David, son of Israel, son of Judah, son of, and it will almost always be in front of a name. And that will help clue you in that you're talking about the children of.
The feminine bot.
Would be bot. Yeah. So like the, for daughters of Job, would be, boat because the construct form is, ot. So the boat, Eov, daughters of Job. All right. What else do we see in here?
Two mems down there.
So this mem and this mem. Okay. So this one here and this one here. Okay.
I see only the first one is
Why would you assume that?
because it has
The seri?
the already.
Yep. So the dagesh that should be here got rejected, sent back down here. Okay. What about this one?
That's the word for Egypt.
It is the word for Egypt. That's right. You cheated. You looked down below, didn't you? No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. No problem. All right. Eretz. That's right. So and what is Eretz? Land. Exactly. Very nice. Mitzrayim.
Yeah.
Egypt.
And they'll be like, this is we're not viewing.
It doesn't have any meaning other than Egypt.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just means Egypt.
Really, you can like dig out of it. Be like, there's never roots in there.
There's it's the more common word was Rahab. And Rahab is the prophetic word for Egypt. That has actually more etymological relationship to words within Egypt than Mitzrayim.
No.
So yeah, very good. All right. So let me clear this out.
The third, the son gives the one out of land of Egypt.
Exactly. It would actually be in the third Chodesh month. The children of Israel, this is the went out, sorry, right here. This is our verb, went out, from the land of Egypt. Who would like to read the Hebrew? A volunteer? Everyone just go silent. Everyone looks away. All right, go ahead, Brent.
Yes. Let's sleep.
Perfect.
Sleep. Then sit,
Perfect.
and then dry up.
Hmm?
Make edits. It's dry.
Perfect. Perfect. Very nice. In the month, the third, went out the sons of Israel from the land of Egypt. That would be the more literal. Okay. Yeah. Very nice. Very nice. And here's our example of the men, just like you picked up. By the way, it took me a little while to find some men examples. There aren't a lot. Here's one we're gonna go through. I don't know if we're getting to this one tomorrow. Probably next week in Torah. But alrighty. So let's see. Who would like to volunteer to read this one? If you want, I can break up the lines unless somebody would like to volunteer to read it.
Oh,
You want to give it a shot? All right. Good job, Robin.
or
Perfect.
sorry. Oh,
It
oh, is that? Or
It is exactly what you're about to say.
oh,
Paro.
or
Mm-hmm.
bed. Oh, what letter?
That's a tet.
Oh, right. Oh no, I always have
That's okay.
trouble.
Tabato.
That would too.
Just tabato. Mhm. Me'al.
Mehal. Yado.
Perfect.
Well.
That's a noon.
Oh.
Bayiten. Ota.
Yeah. Yom.
That's
Yes,
a Yosef. Exactly. And I've kind of shared with you, I'm leaving a few of these in here just so we get used to seeing
Yes, say.
Yosef. Yeah, it's exactly, Yosef. You just told that because you're
The
that.
accent would be on
Oh,
S.
Yeah, it'd be on the Yosef or Yosef. So perfect. All right. Let's do what we did before and see what it is that we know here. So go ahead and call it out when you see it. And yep,
I'm guessing Pharaoh is Pharaoh.
it is Pharaoh. Paro is Pharaoh. Yep. Perfect.
Then you got the mem you also right there.
Right there. Yep. And we know this is a mem preposition because why? The two. This guy rejected it.
The dog here.
Yep. The ayin will not take the dagesh. So that's exactly right. There's our mean preposition right here.
Isn't ed mark at the beginning or mark the object?
Direct object. Yes, exactly. Direct object mark. Perfect. Correct. Good job, Poppy.
And then yada, I'm guessing is like it's something to do with the hand.
It absolutely has something to do with the hand.
Somewhere or something.
It absolutely. So it's a yado. And actually this do is the last thing we're going to learn today.
Handed or something.
He. It's the pronominal.
Oh, and
It's the pronominal suffix that tells you it's his hand. His hand. That's actually what we're going to look at tonight. It's just an introduction into these pronominal suffixes. So this is his hand. Good job. Yosef, we know that one. Yep. There's another hand right there. Yep. There is an all right there. What is all in this case? Nope. That's L. On or upon. Exactly. So we know we have an all here and we also have one here. So here our phrase is from on and then on hand. Yep. Perfect. What else do we see over here? Go ahead. No. Go ahead.
So it's second word on the bottom line because that's oat, right?
Oat, ota, right?
Usually that.
So in that case, that's the same sound, yes. But believe it or not, this aleph tav right here is the same word as this aleph tav right here. So et and et, but it's changed its vowels a little bit because it's taking, if this is his, and what do we know about Susa? What kind of horse? Feminine. So this is probably hers. It doesn't, unless it's supposed to in a very specific form, which we'll learn tonight. The hey on this word, it's a strange rule in Hebrew. But when you get this dagesh in the last hey of a word, it means this is not the consonant vowel. This is a consonant on the end of the word. So it tells us this belongs here as a consonant on its own, not as a vowel. Because without the dagesh you've learned that that's just a vowel. That kamatz, hey, it's just a whole vowel. So you would ignore the hey. But in this case, that dagesh is saying, no. Don't forget me. I'm supposed to be here for a reason.
So it's on top.
You would lengthen it a little bit. Oh, top. Yeah, you just lengthen it a little. But it's so if this is his hand right here, this would translate as her. Now, here's the thing. Let's go ahead and do this. Vayasar paro. So and Pharaoh removed his, and I know the his because of this O right here. What did he remove? Well, he removed his tabat, his ring, his signet ring. Okay, that's this O tells me it's his. From, upon, his hand. So just to go with the picture, we're going to pretend this is the ring. Okay, he's removed the ring from his hand. Now the ring in the phrase is sitting. It's now off of his hand and it's in space somewhere. And he gave Natan. This is a Natan, the verb, gave, give, but the noon disappears. And he gave her or it. What do we have sitting in midair? The ring. Is the ring feminine or masculine? This is the word for ring. Is it feminine or masculine? It's feminine. So, and he gave it feminine, which points back to the ring. Now we know what he's giving to, or put it on, the hand of Joseph. So the ring comes off of Pharaoh, sits in midair in the phrase for a minute, and then it goes on the hand of Joseph. Okay? Gendered language. This is how you know. Feminine, taba'at, ota, it, feminine. I'm looking for a she, feminine, up there, and that's how they relate together. So, vayasa paro et taba'ato me'al yado, vayiten ota al yad Yosef. And Pharaoh removed his ring, and he from upon his hand, and he gave or put it on the hand of Joseph. It's easy when you're in class, right?
You see that yod is in construct form, the bottom one.
Yes.
It's Joseph's hand.
Joseph's hand. Perfect. Perfect. Yeah, non-construct form would be a commands.
So is the all construct too? Just out of curiosity.
Kind of.
Because would it have a?
It would be considered a preposition attached to the word, but we're doing that through the makaf.
Did the vowel change those one?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. All right. Very nice. Okay, let's get to any questions on that? You guys are identifying some things, I'm guessing? Starting to see some stuff?
Yes.
The part that I can see is freaking out Steve is he's like, stuff keeps disappearing, man.
Oh,
Yes. Yes, it does. It does. But they're predictable. They're predictable and they're on really common words. So you'll see them all over the place, and just memorize your vocab, you'll be good. Or get really familiar with your vocabulary. All right. Pronominal suffixes. So we were just looking at those. The o, the ah, those kind of things. So here's we're just going to do kind of an introduction tonight, and we're going to cover just singulars. We'll do plurals next week, and then we're going to continue to review these. Once we're through pronominal suffixes, we've covered just about everything except verbs, believe it or not. So, and that'll just be some practice on some of those things. But these get a little complicated, but we're going to build on what you already know. So, pronominal suffix, pronoun. I've already given that example up there, Daisy, but you know about pronouns, right? They stand in the place of a person, a place, a thing, or an idea, and they come in different forms, right? So first person, I, me, we, us, right? Those are first person forms. Second person forms, you, your, those kind of things. And then the third person, he, him, his, she, her, all those different forms for the third person out over there. And they come in singular and plural in our English language, right? Same thing in Hebrew, except we kind of have this additional element in Hebrew that we don't have in English, although we kind of do, if you think about it. English, we'd like to think, is actually not a gendered language, but it used to be. And there are remnants of it. There are remnants in he and she. One is feminine, one is masculine. But the remnants of it disappeared in the you, because it can be you feminine or you masculine. So they began to disappear. But if you go back to Old English, they were gendered. So we do have some gendering within our language. We lost it in the plural. They, them, it's just whoever. It doesn't matter who it is. But in Hebrew, we have this additional element of gender that we have to track. So Hebrew has first, second, third person, singular, and plural forms, just like any language would. But it's got a gender that we have to put in there. Otherwise, we wouldn't know that the ata, what was put on Joseph, the ata, the feminine she, it, would refer to the ring. We wouldn't know how which two would go together in the sentence. And so within this, because no, it didn't disappear in this case, but because Hebrew's gendered, we use something, it's a shorthand code called person, gender, and number. And this is something you're going to see in a lot of places. Sorry, PGM. Person, gender, and number. And it's going to be a way for you to help learn how to identify just what really is the subject that we're talking about. So first, second, third persons, they will typically follow the form of a number. The gender follows masculine, feminine, and then the number, singular and plural. And we want to start to get used to seeing this, because when you start looking up, when you get confused in a few weeks from now, and you start looking things up on the internet, and you'll find a table of information of Hebrew, you'll start to see 1 CP, 1 CS, 2 MS, 2 FS, and you'll be like, what does this stand for? Well, the number in the first slot is the person. First person, second person, third person. The letter in the middle slot is the gender. Masculine, feminine. And the letter in the last spot tells you singular, plural. And every table you're going to see from here on out is going to identify in that category. So it's not something you need to memorize, because you're going to see so much of it that it'll just start to kind of leak into your brain. I'm going to try to always present the person, gender, number in order, in a particular order to you, because it helps when you memorize some of these forms, which you will have to begin to memorize. If you memorize them in order, then when you're unsure, you can just recite the order of the table in your mind and kind of figure out where you are in it. It's an easy way to teach your brain to function a little bit like a database. So just be aware when you start hearing me say PGN, person, gender, number, what's the person, what's the gender, what's the number? That's what we're talking about, the PGN. The sheet of paper you have in your book there, Steve, you'll see those 1 CS, 1 CP, 2 MS, you'll see those in there. That's the person, number, gender that they're referring to. So it's just a little shorthand code to be aware of as we come through these things. The question is, how do we identify whose horse it is? And we just saw this in the last slide we went through. And this is how we do it, by adding a suffix to the word. We've already done suffixes, right? Susim, susah, susot, suseh, susat, susot. Well, we have a whole new group of them. Suso, susah, suseha, suseh, susi. And these suffixes on the words tell us something. Remember, Hebrew words are like Christmas presents. They're wrapped in a lot of ways. We have to untake the wrapping off and kind of figure out what we have going on here. And so just as Brent identified, when we see an O, this whole vav on the end of a word, then we are dealing with what is called a pronominal suffix. It tells us that this is his horse. And remember when you said, hey, Jeremy, hays don't take dageshes. Well, that's her. If there's a dagesh, you know you're dealing with a pronominal suffix. Otherwise, if it's susah without this, it's just a mare. It's a female horse. So the one dagesh dot makes a big difference, right? It's her horse. So his horse, third person, masculine, singular. His horse. Third person, for her horse, feminine, singular. Just like ota was a third, feminine, singular, referring back to the ring.
How do you say her mare?
That would be susata, which is why the construct forms of the endings will get really important.
It's not like it's what about
Horses,
horses?
susota. So the ot and the ot and the a for the plurals,
In construct where it's not
it is in construct.
where
This form, horse of him, horse of her, horse of you, horse of you feminine, horse of me. These are construct forms because they are in construct with the pronominal suffix. So they will take, when you start dealing with the plurals, they will just take the construct and then you'll see the pronominal suffix attached to it.
But her female horse would be the only.
So in this case, her horse, the horse in this case is a masculine singular.
If it were her mare,
Then it'd be susata.
so the T would just go away then.
The T's tend to, in that table, like yods will often indicate a plural masculine. The tavs indicate feminine, sometimes plural, sometimes not. It depends on the vowel.
You need to add a letter in there. You're probably going to have a job like cigar.
Exactly.
If it's a guy, you're going to have
Either nothing, or a yod for plural. So it's somewhat predictable. Again, we've already learned some of these forms. We're just seeing some new suffixes that we haven't seen before. Suseja, right here, your horse, masculine singular. So it's your horse, suseja. So you might say something like, if let's say the three of us or four of us were in a field and there was a horse out there, and I were to say something like, Haze suseja? Is this your horse? Now, Carol would know I'm not asking her the question because of two reasons. Ze is masculine, and suseja is masculine your. So I could be asking either one of you. But if I were to say, hazot susech, you would know because zot is feminine, and susech, your horse. It's got to be the feminine in the group. You would know I'm not talking to you. I'm only talking to you in the group. And we won't learn the plurals until next week, because this is an introduction. Okay. This is an intro to this. The plurals get a little more interesting. Not much. They're not bad. It's just another 10 endings to learn. Here's the good news about these endings. Okay. Echa, right here. Ha and E. Believe it or not, these become really helpful learning this form. Because when we learn our first set of verbs, they're suffix verbs. Guess what endings they take? The same ones. They're the same ones. So these patterns repeat all through the Hebrew Bible. You learn one set, and oftentimes they will apply to something else along the way too. So this is really the last big chunk of suffixes that you're going to end up learning. As we come to verbs, we'll look at prefixes. That'll be a little different beast. But really, this is just kind of a dip the toe into the water introduction as to what we're going to look at for the next few weeks. And this is what we're going to spend our time on. I would recommend when you come back and get the video, or if you go to Canvas, there's I uploaded a PDF of the lesson on there, plus the slide deck. You can see this table. You can go to the lesson, and I would just put it into the routine of memorization. Right? Sus, susim, susa, susot. Sus, suse, susat, susot. Suso, his horse. Susa, her horse. Suseja, your horse. Suse, your horse. Susi. And just let the horse kind of guide you with the endings. And it will go a long, long way in trying to figure out what these are. Eventually, you'll just see the ending and know. Just like we did back on these verses that we looked at. We can look right in here. Eventually, you will pop into the verses and say, Yado, his hand. Tabato, his ring. Ota, her or it, female. You'll start to just immediately get these endings. That might help explain why when I've been reading and I'll highlight something as I go, his, and then we'll read the word. It's that suffix that tells us what the possession, who has it, what is the possession of it. So that's all we're going to do for tonight on the pronominal suffixes. That's it. It's just an introduction. We'll kind of review those, probably do a quick one on the prepositions again, and then we're going to spend a few more weeks on these endings. And like I said, once we're through this, we're through most of the grammar of Hebrew, apart from the verbs. And now it's just kind of getting it incorporated into your head along the way.
Get them go. Get them.
Yes.
That's the your the masculine has the someone. Okay, well, it doesn't have anything.
Doesn't have anything. Yep. So
What's the one CS?
first, common, because it works for either gender. It's genderless. Because when you're talking about I or me, we, it's genderless. Yes, Poppy. I'm preparing a test just for you. So yeah, first common singular. Yep. All right. Any other questions on that one? If not, we'll do some quick vocab of the new stuff. I'll say it, you can repeat after me. Basar.
Basar.
Means flesh or meat. So flesh of my flesh, bone of my bone. Basar, right? That's the word right there. Can mean skin, can mean...
Wait a second. Why was he, right? Like Basar or something?
Basar. It'd be the scene. The scene would reduce to a shawa. So it'd become Basri. Basri. So as you add to the end, it's kind of a rule of Hebrew, as you add things to the end, the vowels that precede begin to shorten and disappear.
Yeah.
Because the accent is shifting further and further away from the front.
That part of the Bible.
So the
it's Basar. All right. Basri.
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 Flesh. So it'd be Basar.
Oh.
Flesh of my flesh.
Right. So, okay, I got it. So, Basri, Basari.
No, it'd just be Basar because it's flesh. So I see what you're saying. No, it'd just be Basar because it's masculine singular. It won't have a.
But in my flesh.
And then Basri. So Basar, Basri. Flesh of my flesh.
So wouldn't the first Basar be a construct form?
It is, but it doesn't get an extension because it's not plural.
But the vowels don't go down to the bad.
In the way we would say it, no. The vowel reduction, they may go to patak.
Oh, okay.
But it's going to sound the same.
That's what I was like.
Yeah. I'll have to go look it up and see. I forget how the poem actually goes. But great question. Good. You're thinking through how to construct the phrase. That's great. Geffen. Geffen means a vine. Hema and Haim means them. This is the form Haim we're going to see most often. That's the most common form is Haim. Hema is not as common, but it's an important one to know. And it should make sense. Them means plural, right? Them is a plural. And notice what our ending here on this one is. It's another mem, just like eames. So you'll start to see some of these things that are similar. Hena, and hain. Same exact form up here, except we have a noon and a noon. Them, feminine. So here's our masculine, here's our feminine. Zakar. Zahar. I can never remember where Zahar is. Means Zahar, to remember. Zahar. I can never remember where Zahar, the car, is. Yeah, I have to do these things to remember the words. This is how I learn. Khata means to sin or offend. Khata. It also means to miss a mark. If you're shooting at a target and you miss, means that.
Harmatia.
Exactly. All right, I'm going to ask this one here. I know it, Yatav. You say that one, Yatav. Why do you think that one is to be good? You from toe. Bingo. You got it. To be good. Kos. Kos. You always put a coaster under your cup. Kos. What letters do you recognize here that I've said pay close attention to? Nope. The aleph, the mem, and the resh. Amar. Amar. Always is something with speaking. So, lemor literally means to say. So it might be like, Joseph opened his mouth, lemor, saying, and then there's your quote, beginning. And this is what he said. Lemor. So anytime you see those amar, that word, you know you're dealing with direct speech. Lila. Lila. If I said Lila toe, good job. Lila toe. Yep. Lila toe. La ma'an. La ma'an. This is one I still will struggle with sometimes. I had to use like the 24-hour of Le Mans because they always line up in order before they start the race. That was the only way I could get that one to stick in my head. Le Mans. For the sake of, or in order that, something like that. It's another one you'll see. Not a super common word. One of my favorites, Madua. Madua. Why? Why would I do a? Madua. Why? It's a great one to say to your wife when she doesn't know what it means. Madua. Because then she doesn't know. I'm asking her. Mashke. Mashke. It's king. We've been through Melech a million times. Mashke, a cupbearer. Now you might see this mem out over here and go, is this like a from thing? Is this a preposition deal over here? Because I've got too many letters. If I'm dealing in a 3-letter root system of Hebrew, and I have 4 letters out over here, it can be a little confusing because my root is the shin, kaf, hey. That is my root, but I've got this ma hanging onto the front. Well, I'm pushing that particular lesson out just a little bit. Do a little verb introduction to come back. Hebrew can form words based on an occupation or a location. So in other words, this ma right here that's preceding and this sere tends to tell you kind of a job title of the word. Okay. So, but if you just learn it as mashke, but know that shaka is the verb or is the word, because shaka means who drink. But a moshke is one who brings the cup that you drink. Okay. So we just change up the forms of the words, and that's what. Yep. Mm-hmm. And then mishte. Mishte is a feast. Somebody want to guess what a shita is?
What?
Shita?
Food?
It's not food. It's a table. It's a table. Yep. There's 2 words for table in Hebrew. Shate is one of them. So these words, you got to unlock that creative brain that allows it to sort of float around a little bit and think, okay, what forms can this take as we come through? So. Probably more so than you think. So, all right. Good job, everybody. Any questions before we wrap up? You're doing good. I threw verses in front of you and identified all kinds of stuff. So, well, there's always some smart ones in class that help you, and you're like, and they do it, and you go, oh yeah, there is. Did you now that's the important part. As soon as they pointed it out, did you have that reaction? Oh yeah, there is one. Yeah, well, that means you actually know it. The connection hasn't been, it's still developing, but it's there. If you saw and you went, what? I don't understand that at all. That would mean you didn't know it. So, yeah. I think it's, hey, you got 2 high fives. So, yes, Miss Poppy. Of course you are. Of course you